The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Ah, there it is. You tuned into the Farron Dozier Show on nbradio.us, Tech Talk Edition, and Live Sports. Catch me here Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, only on nbradio.us. Shout out. How'd I do? Was that a good take? That might be. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm blessed, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, did you see the game last night?
Oh, that was a good game.
But did you see the shot?
I lost money from that shot.
Oh, man, that shot was cold,
I
man.
hated it, but it was good. Damn. What's in those jeans?
You really want to know?
I do.
Exhaustion, muscle spasms, asthmatic issues, unexpected sickle cell trait crises.
Damn. Are you serious? When I was young, I found out I had sickle cell trait. My mom's told me, but I ain't have no knowledge of it. But when I got older, I had a child, and the doctor told me my daughter has sickle cell trait. Do you know the facts that both parents have sickle cell trait? There's a 50% chance the child may have the trait, and 25% chance the child may have the disease.
Hey, that's what's the count. Do you know that 2.5 million people in the United States have sickle cell trait, 300 million people globally? I didn't find out I had sickle cell trait until I was in the Army, 10 years. Next thing you know, I had a sickle cell trait exertion site.
Sickle cell? I thought that was a black gene or something.
Nah, man, the Latin community is number 2. 1 out of 36,000 babies are being born with sickle cell disease. You could be Caucasian, Mediterranean, European. You gotta know your bloodline, man. There is an inherited gene in our community that has been forgotten. The name is sickle cell trait. WDCONSCT, also known as What's the Count, is out to bring awareness, education, and prevention to people all over the globe. Want more information? Call us now at 323-215-5384 or visit www.wdconsct.org. Go. All right, good afternoon and welcome to the Farron Dozier Show on Military Broadcast Radio Network. That's right, MBR. We're live today. Thanks for listening in. We always have a very important show for you here on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific time. But also, you can catch me at KCAA Radio, 106.5 FM, 1050 AM if you're in the Inland Empire, and also at kcaaradio.com. That's Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific time. Over there, we do a little bit more sports talk. We got the Sports Selective TV, media, and radio segment, but we still do the variety show, the Farron Dozier Show. Just depends on where we are and what we're talking about. Today is a very important show for me. As you've been on my shows or been listening and watching, I share a lot about my own personal life, my own personal journey, things that I've had to go back and heal from, relationships, most important relationship with my parents, and then myself, and then my daughters. And so today's episode is brought to you by Life of A, which is a series that I'm writing. I'm stepping into the author conversation right now, right? So this one comes from a space of the life of a 23-year-old. And this is what one of the defining moments titled The Day I Walked Away from God. And I titled it that because at 21 years old, life just shifted. It changed. I joined the military at 19. I got married at 19 and then separated at 21. And then my daughters were born at age 23. And so what I learned most recently about myself was I had a lot of shame. I had a lot of shame. I had a lot of embarrassment. I even had some self-disappointment for that marriage failing. We got married. We were in church young. It was the right thing to do at the time, right? Spiritually, biblically. But even in life today, when I look back, it's like, yes, you do want to get married at a younger age because you can protect yourself from those other experiences and memories. And that'll be something that we talk about another time. But I realized I carried a lot of embarrassment at 21 years old. I carried a lot of shame, a lot of disappointment. And that did affect other relationships as well. But this particular conversation today of the life of a 23-year-old brings to the table my middle daughter, Brittney. And the beautiful part of this conversation is, as I started my healing journey at age 40, in one of the deepest, darkest moments of my life, of my transition out of the military from the sickle cell trait experience, and then my career coming to an end, I was introduced to some education, and that education and that weekend course really opened up my life from my perceptions, my interpretations, my perspectives of life in such a short period of time. And I walked away experiencing being transformed. I walked away experiencing freedom, peace of mind, all because I was willing to tell the truth to myself up against some principles that I found that weekend to have confidence in. And when I did that, so much more opened up. And, here we are today, 15 years later. And so when my daughter, Brittney, asked, to do a show, I asked her to come and be a part of this episode here today so that we can share our, be open and share our stories. I don't know how far she wants to go, but, I'm going to dance with her in the conversation. But for those of us who are military on this network, if you are a first responder, you wore some type of uniform, you know that the military, that those jobs takes us away from our families. And I heard a conversation the other day that said something to the fact of, I gained a career, but I lost my family. And there was a part of that I could relate to, being in the military, traveling, and not being with my children, not being around them, things like that. So you feel like you miss out on some things like that. So I gained this great career in the military, retired, but then there were some fractures in my own personal relationships. And so I pray that you hear something for yourself. If you're willing to listen and to self-examine yourself up against the conversation that my daughter and I have, I call this the father-daughter, daughter-father conversation. I've told Brittney numerous of times that her and I should get together and just go on a father-daughter tour, because there's so many of us impacted by our relationships with our parents that hinder us in our own lives, right? And then we become parents or whatever that happens, and then now we're carrying those episodes and stories with us. So I believe I've opened up the conversation enough for the context to share of what we're going to talk about. If you want more information about that inspirational conversation, it's at farrond.com. And this is it's under the Life of the series. From a 2-year-old decision up until 50, I discovered 10 different stories and meanings that I made up about myself that just wasn't the truth. They were my truth, but they wasn't the truth. And in that space, I was able to ask my parents to forgive me for how I treated them. And that's the thing, as children, we can be the ones to go to our parents and ask our parents for forgiveness. Even us as adults, we're somebody's child, right? And so you have that ability, if you're willing to take a look at yourself and see how you treat your mom and dad, and then go to them and say, hey, you know what? I recognize my behavior, and I want to acknowledge that and ask you to forgive me for how I treated you. It's a different walk. But in Malachi 4:6 and Luke 1:17, that's a biblical context that I learned, that I discovered where it came from. That we can return the hearts of our children back to their fathers, and the hearts of our fathers back to their children. Or there be a curse on the land. And the curse on the land is the things that we see right now in the world today. So with no further ado, I would like to bring up my daughter. Again, I love her. I'm grateful that where we are today, that looking back 15, 20 years ago, even longer, you probably wouldn't even knew that we would have a conversation or be connected as such as it is today. And so we are proof that you can restore relationships as parents, as fathers to your children, and even as children to your parents. So this is the one and only. Let me turn this ticker off here. We don't need to see all that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Brittney. What's happening?
What's going on?
You doing good?
I'm good.
Yeah. So thank you for accepting the invitation. I know you kind of ignited this conversation. But based off of what I opened up the show with, what did you hear? And then we'll get started.
That you got married at 19. Yeah. I feel like I knew that, but hearing that just right now kind of put me in a completely different headspace of like understanding. And I feel as a child, you don't really get to know your parents as a child or a young adult or a preteen, like I only know you as a grown up, So to hear you were a kid, you were a child, you made mistakes, and it's kind of like mind blowing, like I was a kid, you knew me as a kid, but now you know me as an adult, you've seen me grow my whole life. So I just feel like children don't have that growing period with their parents unless their parents are just 100% honest. And a lot of people like to say that they are honest, but I don't think the world's honest.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for saying that, because those are some of the things that we learned, right? On how to be authentic and how to be honest with your loved ones, with people in your life, so that they might hear a different view of you that they've never heard before. And that's why I love to say that I don't know you. Like when I think that I know you or know a person, then there's a part of us that stops listening. And it's like, okay, I already know what you're gonna say. I already know their behavior. Like I already got them figured out. And so I definitely appreciate you for hearing that, even if it's for the first time in a different perspective, because this is what I want other people to have to be able to listen as they listen to their loved ones and their children, and the children listen to their parents. Like, wait, man, like you was what? Right?
I was like, wait a second, wait. 19?
Yeah.
You were a baby.
We was 19, baby, 19.
Ooh.
And
no,
go ahead.
Even know I was just gonna say, you didn't even know yourself for real.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's a transitional age, and even some 19-year-olds are not mature.
Yeah.
To for sure not to get married, but that's
and
my
that,
opinion. But that's
yeah,
okay.
no, and that's and we can start there. And I'm definitely not going to speak for your mom. I'm just going to tell my side of it, my views of it. But yeah, we were young. We were young. I think when I met her at church, I was like 13. And she's a year or so older than me, like a year and a half. And so she was already a little bit older than me. And so I just remember going to Jesus Christ Faith Center, just going to church. And then about 17 going into 18. Matter of fact, it was my senior year. And we were in the choir at church as well. And so
okay.
It was prom. And I remember your mom going to her prom. And I think she went to her prom, but I remember it was whole prom conversation. So my turn came up and I wasn't going to prom. And I had chalked it off like I'm not even participating, because at that time I was already hurt from a 14-year-old episode in junior high school. So I wasn't really talking to girls. And so my Uncle Jerry encouraged me. He was like, at choir rehearsal a couple of weeks before. You're not going to prom? You're not going to prom? It's like, I see you be looking at Monica. Go. Why don't you go ask her to go to prom? Like, she older than me. Like, she ain't going. And so I kid you not, it was like 2 weeks before prom. And I found the courage on that choir rehearsal night to ask your mom to go
On
to
that
prom.
Tuesday night.
It was a Tuesday or Wednesday, one of them nights. And she said, yeah. And the rest was his story. And had a good time. And that was part of the kickoff of us, having a relationship. And then when you look at the spiritual context of it all and the religious aspect, right? There's a part that says you can't have sex before marriage and all these things. And so we were in that church community, and it was like, okay, if we want to be together, we're young. This is what the word says to do. And as you mentioned, we were not mature,
Yeah.
and what I was dealing with for sure. And long story short, this is where we are today. And the part that brings me to you is when when Jade was in the process, I didn't even know what was going on. Again, I was 23 by this time, 22 going into 23, and was lost. I really didn't know. And then I knew that I wanted to be respectful of your mom and let her know that, hey, we didn't have a child, but I'm about to have this baby, and I just want to be honest and let you know. And the crazy thing was, I wasn't with Jay's mom anymore, and me and your mom got back together for a sec, and you, in those in between times, within an 8-month span, you came along, and now I have these 2 little girls that are babies at 23, and the disappointment and the shame from the marriage failing at such a young age, and then now they almost embarrassed to have 2 children out of wedlock, as a 23-year-old. And I think the biggest part of that episode is at 23. I was with my buddy Al, and we were at this restaurant having dinner, and these 2 girls was in the corner, and I could hear her loud talking. She was loud talking to her girlfriend. Girl, I wouldn't date no guy with no kids. I mean, and she was just going in, and I'm all the way at their table listening, and we over here eating and talking, but my ears is over there, and I hear her say that I won't date no guy with no kids, girl. And all of a sudden my mind was like, dude, you got 2 little girls. Who's going to accept you? You're not going to be accepted. And I can articulate it today because I look back and I let those 2 girls define what I thought all women was going to be about.
Yeah.
But in that moment of me at that table having dinner and hearing those girls say that, my mind was like, okay, well, how are we gonna get accepted? Like, how are we gonna get accepted? And I made up a story to make sense to me that, okay, if I meet a girl, I'm just not gonna tell her I have kids. Like, I'm not, because I think that if she wants to talk to me, then my daughters have nothing to do with her. So then she should accept me for me first, right? And so I made that make sense to deal with the emotional pain that I was in those moments of that conversation. But what I didn't realize is I became a liar. Because from that moment on, withholding the truth, from that moment on, if I met a girl and she asked me if I had children, my first instinct was to say no. And if I was a little bit confident, I would say 1. And if I was feeling myself that day, I would say 2. But most of the time I wasn't feeling myself, so I would either lie and say none, or 1 and hold my breath, or 2 and hold my breath. And so, again, I didn't realize that I was a liar. it was a way for me to survive the feeling of not being accepted from a woman. And I'm not proud of that. I own it today as a character flaw, as a decision that I made to survive those moments. But I do own it, and I was never proud of it. And it definitely impacted relationships, up until my 40s. So, based upon that, and then you come in, and then there was a period that me and your mom tried to work it out and tried to figure it out and get it together, and again, I was lost, trying to, I was National Guard part-time. I was trying to find what I was going to do next, and I chose to go active duty military, and that was the transition from the National Guard to the active full-time Army. But by then it was complete. It was done. It felt like those days were over. I do remember in my mind, around 94 or 95, I went to your mom and asked your mom, like, hey, look, I'm full time. I got 2 daughters. I feel like I want to take care of somebody. And what I heard your mom say was that she didn't know me anymore. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But I really walked away silently, hurt. Because I was like, well, you would rather go meet a brand new guy that's not your daughter's father than to get to know your daughter's father that you say you don't know anymore, but we grew up. Like, all that was in my head. And that at that point, I just completed that chapter and was like, okay, I guess that's not going to work out. And I didn't end up with Jay's mom either. So here I am by myself, with 2 daughters that I'm taking responsibility for. And before I give it to you, the last part of that impactful story is I looked at my dad and my mom, and I looked at my dad and I said, well, you know what? I'll just deal with that when they get older. And another fast forward, bad decision. Bad decision, because I did how I thought my dad did me when I didn't see him, and then I felt like I'll just deal with them when they get older. And that decision caused me to miss out on a great percentage of your life and your sister's life. But not only because of that, because I lied. And so if I did have a girlfriend, I couldn't bring you around because I said I didn't have any children.
You didn't have no kids.
So then I can't
Where'd
even
she come from?
So I'm lying to go see you, right? So it's just this whole big lie that I was living at 23, 24, 25, most of those years. And taking that class at 40 years old and then reflecting back 20 something years, I was like, oh my gosh, I have a lot of damage control. And that was my first 40 years. I said on another episode that I had friends that didn't know if I had children. I had people in the military that didn't know if I had children because I didn't talk about, I didn't say anything unless I felt comfortable that day. And, so I had people like, you have kids? You don't act like it, or I would pick you guys up and I take the car seat out because I didn't want nobody to see the car seat in my car. Like it was all of that pretending, but really I was really suffering. I was suffering in silence, and I really didn't talk to anybody about that. My friends didn't know how I felt. No one knew that this was all my internal dialogue to myself. And so having you here today, all the stuff that we've been through, I'd like for you to share from your perspective as far as you want to go back, and then we'll cross the roads together in the transition of where you and I had that talk that day about the reconciliation part of us.
Okay.
And if you want to say something to something I just said,
Start
if you want
where?
to, if you want to say something to what I said before you start, if you heard anything,
Just that you when you said like you were a liar, but also kind of like living a double life. I feel like that's more of what maybe created the lying, or you becoming a liar, and
mhm,
then you got to keep up with the lie. N- yeah, it just took me to like double lives,
yeah,
like you are one person here and then another person here and then somebody for somebody else, and it's just like, who are you at your core?
yeah,
It more so feels like people pleasing, trying to please everyone else except yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's all. No judgment.
yeah. No,
Um,
no, no triggers. I'm good.
uh, okay, okay. Um, I feel like it's as if I have healed that hurt portion of myself, and sometimes you just remove a memory and you
Mm,
think that it's helping you, and it may not be helping you.
mm,
So I just know, like, growing up, I was angry. I didn't understand. I felt abandoned. I just felt like I wasn't good enough,
mm,
like uh I can remember all the way back to like fifth grade, and everybody would get picked up early, or their dads would come, or like, just I didn't have that. It was always my mom. So she's my rock. I love her for her doing and being exactly who she was and who she is. But I always felt a void. It just always felt like I wasn't complete. Um, and that made me very angry. That made me an angry child. I wanted to fight. I talked smack. I
mm,
did anything and everything you could think of except be in the streets. My mom was very, very specific on us being at church Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
mhm,
So Thursdays and Fridays were the days, I got to stay at home and dirty my room or whatever the case may be. But I thank God that he's had his hand on me my whole entire life, and I did not go searching for something that I did not have. I
mm,
did have very, very, very amazing men in my life. My grandfather, my uncle, I had my actual uncle, but I had cousins that were uncles. I had a godfather that I thought my whole life was my uncle, but that's really my godfather. Found out at 30, but that's okay. Um, but I had to get to a place, and did not reach that place until 22, 21, 22, maybe 23. uh where I also took the landmark, and I was able to see like you were just a person. Like, you weren't this monster, you weren't this person who abandoned me, like you were just searching for yourself. And I, as an adult, now feel, with having children, you kind of can't be everything for someone if you don't know who you are yourself. And knowing that, like being a mom, being raised by a mom, there's certain things I just didn't see that she had to do, or a certain person she had to be for me,
mm.
until I became a mother. And that's like, oh, girl, you were strong. So it's just like, looking back, I was angry for all the wrong reasons. And again, because I did not know, because everything was kind of like hush hush, or we don't talk about that. That's a conversation for when you get older. It's like, but children need to be told,
Yeah,
and not like the dirty, crazy secrets or things that are going to traumatize them. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
just, hey, this is what happened. It didn't work out. I love this person. This person loves me, but we are better off to separate. And I think if I would have known that, like even at 10, my
mm,
life would have probably went in a different direction.
yeah,
Because from like 10 to 17, wall complete.
mm.
I'd be looking over the wall, waving and cheesing and smiling. And as soon as somebody wanted to try to climb my wall, oh, build it higher. Oh, oh, more layers. Uh, I didn't trust. And I believe that that was because I didn't have a male version to trust. Of course, I trust my grandpa, my godfather, my uncle. I trusted what they said because I knew who they were. But a new person, somebody random, what are your intentions? Aren't you gonna leave too? So I sort of made up this lie to myself, my truth, my personal truth, that they only all stay around for a certain amount of time. So I allowed myself to be vulnerable, probably like 3.5%. And once the 4 or 5% needed to approach, it's like, nah, it's all right. This is over anyway. Aren't you leaving? This it's been 3 months. It's time for you to go. It's about that time. So um all I know is once I took the course, actually for the second time, because I did take it as a teenager, and I just remember I felt forced. I felt very much so forced. I think I lived like maybe 10 minutes away from the place. I lived like 10 minutes down the street from where we had to be at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I was being driven back and forth to Fontana for that whole weekend. And I was just furious. I had no ears. They were shut down. My spirit wasn't ready to receive. And as I look back on that, I'm just like, could my what could my early adult years have been like if I would have at 13 heard or learned or saw you as a person? You know what I mean? Like, where could I be today if that had changed 20 something years ago for me? You know? So it's just like, but I do thank you for that first experience. I got to be with you. I got to see who you were. You know, for the first time, it's like, nah, I want to go home. Take me home because that's familiar. I he gonna leave anyway. Like that's literally how I felt. But taking it as a adult, I was able to hear. I was able to actually have a mirror in front of my face to say, I was harsh. I was cruel. I wasn't forgiving. You know, I had made up all these different stories as to why you left and never shared it. Like suffering in silence was that's that's a real thing. And I think other people think, even me to this up until this point, I felt as if I spoke about it, somehow it made me weaker. If I tell people what I'm thinking, they'll think I'm crazy. I already think I'm crazy. So if I think I'm crazy, I'm telling you and you looking at me crazy, well now I know you think I'm crazy too, you know? So uh I'm just so very thankful that when I did take it, it was a choice of mine. I decided to do it. I wanted to do it. And I went in there with an open heart. I went in there looking for a change. You know what I mean? I feel like some people, they do things because maybe they're forced or they do things because it's suggested. But if you don't have an open heart, like you said, to hear, you will never receive. So once I got that and I'm like, yo, you were 23? Like, wait, what? I, mm-mm. That just blew me at that point, you know? Like, whoa.
let's put a pin right there because that's the moment that I had an opportunity to share with you my stuff, right? But to go back where she's to the point where she's right now, those that are listening and watching, when I took the course at 40, my friends around me that introduced me to that education, they paid for the whole curriculum for me. They said, look, you just got to show up. You pick the dates. It's all paid for. And when I got done, they said, we're going to pay for your daughters, all 3.
What?
So that first time that you and Deja was there, Jade, you and Deja were paid for.
Wow.
So it wasn't the force. It was the like, hey, this is an opportunity and it's paid for. And it was wild because you and Deja went, but Jade had given Jade the dates. She was good to go, all 3 of y'all. And then she was going to college and her campus walk, whatever that's called, was the same weekend that her grandmother picked to go do the walk through it. And so she couldn't go.
Yeah.
And I was
'Cause
like,
college is
no,
more important.
right? I was like,
College is
no,
more
what are you
important.
doing? Like, what are you doing? No, no. And she was like, no, I got, and so, you know, you and Deja went, and it was about, I think 2 years later. It was one on your birthday. We went to Fox Hill. Me and Deja met you at Fox Hill Mall.
Yep.
And we went to go eat somewhere in a restaurant there, and we were having dinner, and you said something, and me and Deja looked at each other and said, and she said she didn't get nothing from Landmark. It was like we were like, did you hear what she just said? And she said, because you was closed off. Oh my God, you was so
Shut
closed
down.
off that weekend.
I was a brick wall. I was a brick wall.
And it was like 2 years later, we were having dinner, and Deja we looked at each other. You said something about your life being so bright or something. And we looked at each other. It was at the same time, it was like, she said she didn't get nothing.
She was there. She was there.
Listening.
Yeah, she was in the room. She was in the room.
She was in the room.
But also was the hate in the room. So sometimes the hate screams louder than the joy.
Right.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And right. And so leading up to that part where you took it as the adult is when I had that opportunity and I realized that, oh my gosh, I asked my parents to forgive me, but I now have to go to my daughters and ask them to forgive me. And I went to your sister, I went to Jade first, I went to you and Deja. And I tell people, you know, Jade said she forgave me, but she would talk to me when she wanted to. And I accepted that. I came to you, and I tell people to this day, Brittney cursed at me for like an hour and 45 minutes. I said she went in for an hour, and you could see her look in her head. Like, and that one time, and that one time, and that one time,
all written down in my brain.
She was like, and that one time, and that one time, and I share with parents even today as I teach at church and share with people I meet. There's a way to create the conversation that you can allow your child to share with you how they feel about you, and you have to be able to put your feelings and emotions and your opinions aside so that you can hear the heart of your child. And when you did that, and I said in the conversation, I'm not going to defend myself. I just want you to just share. And even some of the stuff that you said was legit, and some was like, what? And then some was like, okay, I could see that. Like, I had those 3 different categories. I still didn't defend myself at the end. And I knew that one day I'm going to have my opportunity to share my life. And that was what I was taught from that education. If you do this framework in your life, you'll get your opportunity to share your side of the story one day. And for you to come back to me from that weekend and say, Dad,
I was shocked.
What was going on when I was born? And I was like, oh, I finally get my day to tell my truth. And that was not just for you freeing, but that was my freedom as well in return, to finally get to say in my voice, this is where I was at, man. I was lost. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And as I opened up the show with. So this is the part where our conversations intersect, and the beauty of you walking away that second class, like, okay, we got a shot, right? And even though I remember asking for forgiveness, you told me later, I still tested you to see if you was really gonna be who you said you was being. I want you to speak to that part, because I remember you saying that, and I was like, okay, you don't remember that? Oh no, okay, so that was just me then. That was my marking brain that you told me. You was like, there was like a few years in between that, and you was like, you know, I was trying to see if you was gonna really keep your word, you know, and I'm glad that I was aware of that, and I'm glad that I was able to honor my word to you and your sisters. And before I give it back to you, I want to say this. When I realized we have this picture of you, Jade, and Deja at the Armory playing basketball, and
Mhm.
and so in my mind, one of the main reasons why I believe that your older sister is still, upset with me, is because in my mind, I just always wanted to make sure that the three of you had a relationship. Like, even if I wasn't going to be there, like, I wanted to make sure that my daughters know each other and that you have a relationship with your sisters, right? And in being that single mindedness of a decision, because I didn't know any better, what it did was that I always wanted to have y'all together. And then if you wasn't together, then I wasn't with anybody,
Mhm.
right? And I didn't realize that each one of you needed a piece of me in your own way.
Mhm.
And the episode of when I won the radio show tickets off of 94.7 The Wave for Disney was Knott's Berry Farm.
Mhm.
And as soon as I won those tickets, I was like, oh, I got it. And I called each one of y'all like, hey, I won these radio tickets to Knott's Berry Farm, 4-pack of tickets. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And everybody agreed. And I was like, and we met up, we had breakfast, we went. You had to leave early, but you hung out with us to the as far as you could. And then Jade and Deja and myself, they finished the rides. We went home, dropped Jade off. Man, I was on like the highest cloud I could possibly be on. And I said, man, we got to do this again. And the next year, I came up with this plan. Let's go to medieval times. And so Jade was like, well, I'll be home for Thanksgiving, so we could do it around that time. And Deja, Miss, I want to get a job, was like, oh, how much? I'm gonna apply for a job for the holiday week and month and blah blah blah. So I was like, hey, look, if you get that, don't we remember you going to the dinner on that Thursday? Like, well, this girl gets the job and can't go to medieval times.
Mhm.
So in my single-mindedness thought process, I'm like, well, I gotta cancel.
Mhm.
I gotta cancel because one's missing.
Mhm.
And so when I canceled that dinner plan, I believe that was the nail in the coffin for Jade, because she was like, you need to find out why you gotta cancel your plans all the time.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh. And I happened to take a communication class right after. And in that weekend, I discovered why I canceled my plans with my children, because I wanted you all to have a relationship together and to know each other, which that happened. But guess who was still out of the picture was
Mhm.
me. And
Mhm.
so that was the part that led up to the forgiveness and realizing I need to go to my daughters and let them share with me. And then here you are on your own. And you go and take the class, and then you share with me what you got. So what do you want to say about that and your sisters?
I feel like that was another big part of me not feeling good enough.
Mm,
Um, we're going here, but then we don't go here. The canceling of the plans. I also think that that was a big part of me not feeling good enough, or like he don't want to be around for real. Like, well, he coming this day, but is he? Like that's where my doubt came in, and then my self doubt came in, and then doubt in men came in. Like, women do what they say, men
mm,
don't.
mm,
And it's just like all these different layers of things that you don't realize affect your child in the way that they do. Or you make up a story about it and we running with it. I'm running with it for the rest of my life. Um, I think I was also devastated. I didn't want to go to medieval times in the first place, but wasn't my type of that wasn't my vibe. Not at all. But I was willing to be around horse poop for you. You know what I mean? Like, I I believe I was devastated as well. And it was just like, okay, well, if Daisha can't go, then I could like still get to know my other sister,
mm,
and I feel like that is why her and I were never as close as we are today.
mhm.
Because we just didn't have the opportunity. My mamas wasn't getting together. You know, that was something that was just never gonna happen. So it was the opportunity for us to bond as sisters, even though our little sister wasn't there. And I feel like we both kind of took a major hit from that. Um, I can't speak for my older sister, but for me, it was like, dang, he don't tell the truth. And then, like, throughout my life, like every dude that I met, like I was looking for the lie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm waiting for you to lie to me. So now I don't now I'm not trusting. You don't trust me, I don't trust you. Cool. What is trust anyway? You know? Like it just became layer after layer after layer. And now I know, and now I'm trying to implement in my children's lives that like what they see, what they hear, what they get, it all creates who they're going to be.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to keep my mind on their outcome and not just what I got going on. Because everybody got something going on. You know, if we took a poll, everybody is fighting with something. Everybody got some type of secret. Everybody got some animosity. Everybody got a story. You know what I mean? And you don't know that you have a story until you do the work. Until you like,
Is that where that came from?
right, right. And then it's like you put these glasses on. The glasses are my story. And now I don't see anything else but through this lens. So I'm searching for my validation in my story everywhere.
Yeah.
And the day I called you, I feel like that's when my glasses were removed and I could see. And I could see my mom and I could see other people around me. Like, I wonder what they had going on when they was 22. You know, like it opened up a whole different world for my mind to thrive in and not be closed-minded. Because closed-mindedness is, I feel like it's a sickness in our world. And I'm not gonna just say African American, but I do know like we we don't talk about that. We don't talk about trauma. You know what I mean? Like we as a people, we don't talk about trauma. It's even looked down upon to go get therapy when it's like, no, sweetie, you need some therapy. You need to get that out so you're not holding on to it and it don't kill you. You know? So that's where I am with that.
Yeah.
I'm just extremely grateful that I have an open mind, even for the people who are around me now. That already listening or is that what to say right? That
Already, always. Yeah.
already always listening. It's a real thing. And depending on who you're being in the time or in the space, you're not listening. That's what that is. It literally means I already know what you're gonna say. My ears have now turned off, and I'm waiting to defend what I know you are about to say. I'm not listening to the words you're saying. It don't even sound different.
I heard it all before.
I heard everything before. So yeah.
The beautiful thing today, you know, growing up in church. I mean, I grew up in church probably from a baby because of my grandparents, and then that
Me too.
episode with my mom and at the teenage years, and then I had this 20 plus year gap of the shame and embarrassment, disappointment, trying to avoid that, the religious part of the gospel that I can't be lukewarm. I can't listen to music. I can't like it's too perfect. So I'm out of here. And then to come 6 years ago, my dad passed, your grandfather, and I found myself worried about how much time I got. I found myself, how old am I going to be when my grandchildren are older? Am I going to make it to 69? Am I going to, and I found myself worrying about my lifespan. And so I went back to God like, hey man, I need some help. Like, I don't want to live like this. I don't want fire insurance either. I want to find Christ, I want to find you for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
6 years ago, I made that choice or a decision, and or both, and I went full force. I went in. I had relationships I had to let go. I had to complete a marriage that I was in to figure out who Farron was without all of the stuff. And here we are today. You and I, we message about church. We talk about the word. Like that's the good stuff,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and we have both have the communication to where even if we do go off into the already always listening, one of us can bring the other one back into the conversation of, hey, well, who you being? What is that? Where is that coming from? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the communication that I hear people wanting to have with their children, that I hear fathers want to have that with their sons and their daughters, and even the children want to have with their parents, but there's still that disconnect. And the ability, as you said earlier, to be willing to tell the truth to your child at whatever age that they are,
Mm-hmm.
that you fill that space with as much as the truth as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, that child's going to walk away and make up their own story and then fill that space with their story. And now what you say is not going to fit in because they've already figured out how to
They
survive
filled the
those
gaps in.
the gaps. So
Yep.
anything you want to say about that part of the conversation where we are
Filling in gaps, like your kids
with this
filling in
church?
gaps.
Yeah, with that.
I mean, you don't want to tell your 3-year-old all the drastic things, but you would want your 10-year-old to understand where you are mentally, even if they don't understand their mental maturity. And not necessarily saying, like, hey, they did this, they did that, like, not pointing the finger, but just owning up who you were and what you was doing yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I share that even for myself, I disappointed you and your sisters. And I had a lot of those things that I could point to for myself that I was disappointed. I could say, yeah, I know I disappointed them in that episode. The ability to come back and tell the truth to your child, to yourself, I believe that is also a level of freedom for the adult perspective, right? Because you're carrying all that weight. The child looks at you as a superhero, that you could do no wrong, and then you
Mm-hmm.
disappoint that child that day, and then there's the fracture, and then a couple of more episodes it happens, and now there's a gap, and now there's a space that the child doesn't even want to listen to you because it's just like, yeah, I heard that before, man.
I feel like that's where accountability comes in. And I feel like most adults feel like they don't have to be accountable for their actions because they're the adult and
Mm-hmm.
I did what I did because I'm protecting you. But that's like the first way to show someone how to grow. Like you got to take accountability for the things you do. You can't go around blaming the rest of the world for your mess ups, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just like that's the vulnerability in that is what needs to be restored. It doesn't matter how they look at you. You told the
Right.
truth. You expressed what it was. You can't do anything but accept that, even as a child, even as an adult. The more vulnerable and the more accountability you take, it's kind of like, oh, well, I can trust what you say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you were being honest with me. Well, now I don't expect you to lie to me or, to persuade me into this when it's really that. Then you don't then you don't have animosity. You don't have your children hating you. You don't have your children feeling like they don't know who their parents are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we grow up in a in a world, again, my mom, calls them generational curses, but there are
Mhm.
also generational consequences of emotional consequences that
Mhm.
both parents have a responsibility to also look at and to be okay with that. Hey, you know what? Maybe I didn't. Maybe you was the kind of child that needed some emotional support that I didn't give you, or you was a child that needed information that I didn't give you that information. Like, how do you see? Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Sorry. I realize now, being a parent, that you only give what you get. So if you were a child that didn't get any emotional support, you didn't get talked to, you just got sent to your room and you doing it because I said so. That's how you move through life, because I said so. Now you got your chest poked out and you should be vulnerable. You should be telling the truth. And it's like, nah, I did that because I wanted to. Well, yeah, we know you wanted to, but what was the logic behind that?
Yeah.
What were you thinking? And I I think it's hilarious because if you are now two parents and one parent didn't get nothing but it'll be all right, go sit down somewhere. Now you're an adult who's telling your person or your significant other, you all right, go sit down. And it's like, wait, no, I'm not okay. I actually need to talk about this 7 different times in order to
Right.
be okay.
Right.
Please give me my 7 times. And then you become unspeakable, unmanageable, like unknown, And I think that's one thing that I am really, 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 really trying to make sure that I do for my girls. Explain. Like the way that I learn, you got to explain that to me.
Yeah.
Then I have to ask you a couple questions about it because did I understand what you said? Did I get what you said? I need to run that back for you. Did I get that right? Okay. Well, now I got this question. I will ask a question 7 different ways and still be asking the same exact question. But
Yeah.
because your response to me is the same, I feel like I need to ask my question differently
Right.
because I'm not getting more from you.
Yeah.
I'm just still getting because I said so.
Right.
Well, because I said it on that day at this time because that's how I felt to say it. Like, oh, okay. But
Yeah.
I'm still confused. You're still confused. Now we just confused.
Right.
So.
And we call that communication. We call that I'm a listener.
Healthy.
I'm a good.
Healthy
Oh yeah, that's healthy.
communication.
I'm a great listener. I'm a great listener. Great.
And you didn't hear me at all. Yeah. So.
I want to say thank you. For
You're welcome.
these opportunities. I just really believe that our conversation. There's so many, and I know you've heard from your profession, just a lot of conversation from women dealing with life as men, and so what I say is, me as a male, and my ability to go to my parents for forgiveness, and then to go to my daughters for forgiveness. I have a voice in this conversation because as a male, as a father to his son, and a son to his father, and then a father to his daughters, like, that's male and female in both directions, right? And I did 2 talks with my inspiration reads, The Life of a 5-Year-Old, My Perception of My Father, and then The Life of an 8-Year-Old, The Latchkey Kid of 1978. And the life of a 5-year-old is more of the son to father talk. And so when I did that first talk, I'm expecting men, because it's, to me in my mind, it's dedicated for men because it's the son to father. But no men showed up.
Yeah.
It was women. And the women that showed up, we read the read. Here's one right here. Here's a little one. So we read the read, right? And then I allowed them to ask me questions. That was only supposed to be an hour. It was 90 minutes. And then we had to shut down because it was 90 minutes. And I walked away like, I didn't think that was gonna happen like that, because those were women.
Yeah.
But what God showed me was, it's a human being conversation, Farron.
Yeah.
And those women were able to look in their life at their boyfriends, at their husbands, at their dad, and say, well, you said something that reminds me of my dad or my boyfriend or my son or my like, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is not just about men.
Yeah,
This is about people.
people.
And the next one of the Latchkey Kid of 1978, there was majority women. There was a guy that came with his son, and it was the same effect. I'm like, these. So in my mind, I'm thinking that this book is categorized for men. This one's categorized for and it was like, no,
Not at all.
these are people deal with these episodes, and the principles, the biblical principles are across the board. So no matter what your story is, if you put it in that conversation, you're going to get what you need from those principles if you apply them to your life. And so I'm just like, all right, man, I get it. And that's why I'm excited to have these talks with you, because from you to me and me to you, we cover the whole spectrum of men and women, males and females, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the power that your story, your revelation came for you as a young woman could heal a lady who's 50, 60 years old, who hasn't dealt with her teenage or younger child conversations and within herself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I'm excited. That's why I'm happy. And I'm grateful that you took your time out from your family and to be and do the show with me. I want veterans.
I'm honored.
Thank you. I want veterans to in our community to this, have an opportunity to sit with your children. We get deployed, we go overseas, we do training, we go away. I didn't realize that I disconnected from my family like 2 weeks before I had to go to a training site, so that I didn't have the emotional tie while I'm gone.
Because society told you, or all men, that you can't be weak. You can't show emotion. Mm-hmm.
And how that impacts the people in our life, our children. Whether you live in the home with them or not, you still get to be responsible for that. And that's what I learned when I talked to you and your sisters. I was like, I was a father, but I wasn't a parent. I wasn't a parent. I did relationship maintenance and sent money and don't know what to say when I was on the phone with y'all.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what a parent is. And so for men, I share today, as a male, we have to figure out what our ingredients is what it is to, because a father is a role. A parent is a role. It's not a person. A father's not a person. That's a role that we get blessed to take on. And as you said earlier, if my father relationship from my own father is fractured, or I didn't think he did what he should have did for me, then I'm going to do what I need to do for my children, but in the same reverse fracture.
Yep.
And I made that decision to say, well, I'll wait till they get older. And I missed out like 15, 16 years of you and your sister's life.
Yep.
And then to try to reappear and be like, hey, y'all ready to hang out?
Who are you, sir?
But that's what my mom, that's what happened between me and my mom and my dad. And we talked about this the other day. I didn't see my dad from 8 to 15. And then at 15, she's like, well, you in high school now. You need to go talk to your dad because you got senior stuff coming up. You need to get some money. So one day she just pulled up in front of the barbershop and dropped me off. And I'm like, I don't even know this dude. Like,
right.
At 15.
Yeah.
I ain't seen him for 8 years almost. But now I'm acclimating myself back to knowing him. But as you said, my heart was like, this dude don't care about me. He didn't pick me up. He didn't come and see me. I don't know him. But yet I gotta now figure it out. So, and I love my father. He got on my nerve, and I treated him more like my brother than my father, and that's what I asked for forgiveness for, because of how I've treated him funky. And when I recognized that at 40, it was like, oh shoot, I
gotta fix that.
Yeah, like you to me. What was going on when you was born, bro? Like, what was like?
Yeah.
No wonder you act. Well, no wonder y'all like this. Y'all was 19 and 20 years old when y'all had me. Y'all was babies. It was the same kind of reverse, emotional consequence.
Yeah.
And I just want those
I
men.
broke that cycle. I did not have kids till 27. I was not playing no
You did. You
games.
did.
I do
You made
not
it
know
for. You
you.
made it 4 years past me.
I do not know you, sir.
But I just pray that these kind of conversations, even if this is the episode that does it, that we finally had an opportunity to share our stories together, and that maybe a father, a daughter, a wife, or a husband can go back and self-examine themselves off of the things that we shared here, that they could find their peace in their relationships.
I hope so. That's the goal.
Any last words before we get out of here?
I love to watch church on TV. One of my favorite pastors right now is Pastor Mike McClure Jr. And one thing I heard him say today is we always listen from a perspective of other people being the problem, and sometimes we are the problem. So take it from that. Sometimes you might be the problem, and it's okay to admit it and change it.
Yeah. I just want to say, from a son to father and a father to his children, you got to go back and figure out your ingredients. And my ingredients is your emotional state. If you got anger and frustration and upset and pissed off, where is the joy, the self-control, the love, the kindness? Like, where is that? Where's that part at? And to realize that we do disappoint our children. We do.
It's human nature.
And it's okay to allow that child to express themselves. You want that because that keeps the child's heart connected to you.
Yep.
That they realize that, oh, you do make mistakes. He makes mistakes too. Whoa. That could be refreshing for the child to now realize that my dad ain't perfect, like you said, and now his perception changes that, hey, we ain't really all got it figured out. I don't have to pretend like I got it figured out. But yet suffer in silence, and then they still see that, as the already always listening says, you acting this to look good, to not look bad, but you still look bad trying to look good. So you still look bad.
Never ending cycle. Yep.
It's never ending.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for listening in to the Farron Dozier Show on the Military Broadcast Radio Network. Shouts out to MBR. That QR code right up there, you could go there if you want to donate to this platform. They provide all these services for us. They're giving veterans a voice, as myself. I've been at this for 15 years and was honored to be able to have my military talk show come back into existence on a platform to support my brothers and sisters at arms. So shouts out to the network. Again, thank you for listening in. You can catch me here on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific time, and also on Sundays at KCA Radio, on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Other than that, check us out, farrond.com, for more information about the conversation that you heard today, the Life of a series. My plan is for Brittney and I to write our stories from the father to daughter perspective, and then the daughter to father perspective, and then connect them together and produce an inspirational read for you. It might not be maybe 15, 20 pages of it, but enough to give you what you heard today, some principles that we use to get to be in the space that we are today with you in this conversation. I don't know if she want to be an author. I don't really want to be no author. It's not about being an author. It's just about sharing God's message and being able to have that, people read that. So I love
want to be an author.
You want to be an author? Okay, cool. I'll be one with you then. I'll hang out with you.
That inspired me to write this other book that I've been saying I want to write for at least 5 years. So.
Oh, see?
Yeah.
So we're going to sit down and put that together. The inspirational reads are from my end already like maybe 10, 11, 12 pages. They're not books. They're just those clips of life. and we share those
Small
stories
articles.
before, during, and after the experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I look forward to doing that, working on that with you. Shouts out to your family, my
Thank you.
grandbabies.
Mm-hmm.
I wear this. I made this chain a couple of years back when I dealt with the shame of my daughters. But it has my name and your sister's names around on each block.
Is that what you've been wearing this whole time?
Yeah, that has my name, and then all three of your names is on that block.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I had to put my glasses on so I could see. Like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I know that necklace.
Yeah.
I just never paid attention.
Yeah, that's my. I'm not. No more shame.
Aww. It's like a pillar, no? Or
Yeah,
I see
it's
it
like
as a pillar.
It's a pillar. Yeah,
okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I love that, Dad.
So thank you again.
You're welcome. I love you.
I love you too. All right. We appreciate you for listening today. That was my daughter, Brittney. I'm very grateful. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. If you have any questions, at Farron Dozier, if you want to be a guest, you heard something for yourself, or you want to share your story on the platform, hit me up right there at Farron Dozier on all your platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I'll bring you on the show and we can have a conversation. I appreciate you. Shout us out. What's the count? I think I'm out of here, right? What is that? Yeah, I think we're good. Let's go.
Justice Jackson, they captured Herman Goring alive.
Tell me about him.
He's the face of the Nazis. I'm gonna put Goering on trial.
Edward escapes the hangman's noose. Very sure of yourself.
No man has ever beaten me.
Goering has to fall.
You don't just have to win, you have to be flawless.
You're walking into a trap.
Knowing what we know now, would you still follow Adolf Hitler?
Nuremberg, rated PG-13, opens November 7th, only in theaters.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.